This show is sponsored by Party Host Helpers and The Big Picture. If you're throwing a party or event and need help, just like I did recently, Party Host Helpers provides nationwide service for all your party staffing needs. Their bartenders came to my rescue mixing up delicious cocktails for my guests, and their general helpers did all the dirty post-party cleanup. Learn more today at partyhosthelpers.com or give them a call at 844-30-PARTY. The Big Picture is an arts and crafts store in Riverside, Connecticut with a mission to create a brighter world through art. They sell unique and creative gifts and offer workshops and drop-in crafting with DIY tables to make endless creative projects. Check them out at thebigpictureart.com. And special thanks to Pod Populi Studios. They take the hard parts out of podcasting. Now, let's get started. Hi, guys. Welcome to the very first episode of That Greenwich Life. First episode. Can't believe it. I'm Dorothy Cascerceri Simone, your host, and we're going to talk a little bit about this podcast today because how the hell am I even here doing this? I don't know. I'm just glad that you're here listening. That's the most important part, right? So people have been asking me for several years now, probably when podcasts, were a little bit newer to the scene, like, why don't you do a podcast? You need a podcast. I used to have a column at a newspaper way back in the day called Young and Restless, where I talked all about my life as a recent college grad. I went through the magazine world, doing celebrity news, working for People Magazine, In Touch Weekly, Life and Style, even the National Enquirer. And I interviewed all sorts of celebrities on the red carpet. God, I'll never forget the time I interviewed Mariah Carey, but that's a story for a different time. I worked my way up through the magazine industry. I've always been paid to talk, right? This is like my calling. I came out of the womb with a microphone in my hand. So I guess this is why people have been asking, why don't you do a podcast? And all these years went by, everybody started having their own podcasts. And I was just really been busy doing other things. I have an 8.5-year-old son. I have now a 1-year-old daughter, thank God, but I went through 5 years of absolute hell and trauma to have her. We'll get to that also later. And I don't know, I just, never really knew how to even start with a podcast. How do you even start, right? So I'm sure you can all relate to this. There are these things in our lives that happen that we think come out of the blue, but they don't come out of the blue. We are quietly, secretly manifesting them day in and day out. They are kind of, I guess, a part of our higher calling, whatever it is that we're kind of born to do. And I think for me, being a voice is something that I was born to do, or at least that's what people tell me. I don't know. And so the way that this came about is really, really cool because I had been looking at my past career. I worked with all of these brands after I kind of left entertainment news. I should also mention, I buried the lead. I'll probably bury the lead a million times because there's just so much to cover here. So I feel like I need a buzzer. Like I need somebody on the sidelines to kind of like buzz me when I'm going completely off track and I'm getting totally lost so that I can reel it back in and get back to what we're saying. But anyway, the one thing that I left out is that I used to do tons of TV. I used to be on the Today Show, the Wendy Williams Show. I used to be on E! News. I was on Chelsea Handler's roundtable of her TV show, Chelsea Lately. And I used to go on and talk about celebrity news. Then I got my own TV show, Celebrity Corner, which aired in 12 million homes in the New York tri-state area, in the New York market, and the Philly market. We interviewed a lot of celebrities on that show and covered celebrity trends. And it was a great, great experience. So I'm not totally new to the podcast world, but I guess maybe in this format, I'm new. So the way that it happens, which I just love these type of stories because basically you're only as successful in this life with the kind of people that are around you. You're only successful if you have the right people supporting you and lifting you up and loving you and helping you. And hopefully you're doing the same. You're not doing the same just for the people who are helping you and doing things for you. You're doing the same for everybody in your path, hopefully, just because that's who you are. And then, somehow it kind of comes back around and people end up doing the same for you. And there's a person that I met just recently, only about maybe 8 months ago or something. My friend Chelsea, I didn't really know her that well. She was friends of a friend with another person. She was part of a group. And I just kind of like got to talking with her, and she had seen that I was kind of reconfiguring my brand, right? So when we talk about your brand, like what's your brand, right? If you own a coffee shop, then that's your brand. But I don't own a coffee shop. I actually don't drink coffee either, but that's another story. But my brand has always been Dorothy Cascerceri Simone. Dorothy Cascerceri Simone, who? The mom, the celebrity journalist, the brand ambassador, the, owner of a production company, doing media tours around the country, the TV talk show host. So a lot of different things. But in recent years, I kind of was revamping that brand. And I also, by the way, I'm a travel writer. I write a lot of travel as a freelancer. So I'm like the go-to person for all of your travel inspo, whatever, people are thinking like, what am I going to do for my next trip? Oh, let me text Dorothy. Let me ask her. I get tons of messages from people like, didn't you post something on Instagram 6 months ago about Bermuda? Can you give me that information? So, I send it along. But anyway, I was trying to figure out kind of like, what is my new brand? And in thinking about my new brand, I didn't want to try to fit into a box. There's all these rules about social media and how many followers you have and, what's your specialty and what's your niche and all these things. And I just wanted to think about who am I? Who am I authentically? Not who do people want me to be or what category should I try to kind of curl into, so that I'm relatable to people and so people follow me and look at my content. So I was thinking, my brand is very much Greenwich, Connecticut. I moved to Greenwich, Connecticut about 7 years ago when my son was 1 year old. I moved from New York City. And this place is wild. This place is crazy. This place is otherworldly. Now, let's just take a minute here. I don't want to be like, oh, look at me. Here I am. I live in Greenwich, Connecticut. Let me just, hop in my Mercedes. Well, I do drive a Mercedes, but let me just, hop in my Mercedes and drive to the country club. I mean, I do that some days. But, for me, Greenwich, Connecticut is more the experience of this community. It's over the top. It's so much fun. It's crazy. It's wild. People throw the most over the top lavish parties. I am definitely one of those people. I'm not going to lie. I just recently threw a rainbow baby gratitude party for my daughter who was born after 4.5 years of infertility and totally traumatic pregnancy loss and all of these things. And so I did just throw an over the top party. And I asked people, this gives you kind of a sense for Greenwich, Connecticut, right? I asked people, instead of, bringing a gift to the party, just make a donation to a charity in Gemma's name, my daughter. I just meant don't bring me a little outfit for her or a toy. Don't bring a bottle of, wine. Don't bring me these things. I don't need another bottle of Veuve. It's very nice, but you don't have to because it's not about the gifts. It's about bringing you coming to the party, you bringing yourself, and me giving some gratitude and thanks to you for seeing me through this awful, awful time. Anyway, do you know what these crazy people that I call friends living in Greenwich, Connecticut do? Do you even know what these people did based on that request? I went through the blessings jar that was passed around at the party where people could write anonymously, right? Because one thing about Greenwich is yes, there are snobby people. Let's not get it twisted. But I'm not into the snobby, I donated $5 million to the charity. It's beautiful if you do that, but it doesn't need to be announced. I don't need you to attach your name to it. So I asked everybody to do it anonymously. And I went through these Post-it notes the day after the party or maybe 2 days after the party because I was exhausted from this party. There were 100 people there, by the way. This was no average party. But anyway, I went through these Post-it notes and I'm seeing $10,000 to Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. I'm seeing, $1,000 to St. Jude's Hospital for Children. And I'm just taking these straight. And then I see $100,000 to the Red Cross. Anyway, these crazy lunatics in Greenwich, and this is why I love Greenwich, because we came together and did this amazing thing in honor of my daughter, my rainbow baby. But these lunatics donated over $120,000 to children's charities in lieu of gifts. And by the way, they also brought so many gifts. When the party ended, there was a bottle of Dom Perignon in the gift pile. I'm you guys, come on, like just do the donation, do what I asked. But anyway, my point is Greenwich is over the top, okay? So this podcast is going to kind of take you through this life. And when I was kind of reinventing my Instagram content and trying to think like, what is my brand? It's Greenwich, Connecticut. So I just kept kind of making this like little side comment, like, ooh, like, just living that Greenwich life. It was really as a joke with my guy friends from college on a text chat that we're all on. And I started to realize that Greenwich life, that is the brand. That's my brand. Because everything that I do, everything that I talk about, everything that I post, every kind of like fun thing, it all circles back to living that Greenwich life. This life that is so over the top, but yet I'm so humbled by it. Always, always humbled by it. So grateful. Like I'm walking out the door to go play in my tennis match. And yes, I play on a tennis team, okay? You can make any snap judgment that you want, but let me tell you, when I lost a baby at 21 weeks, and we will talk about that, I got into tennis and it was therapy for me. Tennis is my therapy. It is not my snobby country club person sport. It's my therapy. It's my cardio. It's the way that I lost the baby weight. But it's like, on a regular Tuesday, I walk out my door to go to a tennis match and here comes my friend driving up, picking me up in a Maybach, it's just, I just have to laugh because it's not normal. It's kind of crazy. I am one of those people that through and through, I'm not going to keep up with the Joneses. I'm not going to do it. You have to learn to love yourself before others can love you. And trying to be like other people are not going to love you. So I'm kind of like that person that just really wants to stay true to herself, but I'm going to bring you along for the ride. So I'm coming up with this. Okay, I'm going to get back to my friend Chelsea. I think I need that buzzer, to get me back on track. Coming back to my friend Chelsea, she had been seeing that I had gone through and I had kind of rebranded most of my reels to be That Greenwich Life. Because even reels that I posted 2 years ago, about me at some crazy party, it still somehow went back to this idea of living that Greenwich life. And what is it? It's glamorous, it's over the top, it's kind of crazy, people are super bougie, but then there's me, and I'm at this I went to this glamorous barbecue, the other weekend, and it was this Cowboy Carter theme, and it was super fun, and we had all these glitter hats and red, white, and blue cowboy hats, and everyone's in their, theme apparel, and how I relaxed at that party? I basically stuffed my daughter who refused to nap with snacks and just let her splash around in flamingo, and that's the way that I spend my time at one of these over the top parties. So getting back. So my friend Chelsea, my friend at the time who was new, saw kind of this rebrand that I was doing, I guess. And Chelsea's a smart chick. She is really savvy and she has a great eye for things and a great ear for things. And she's just kind of one of those people where she just has a great skill set. And so she calls me and she's like, Dorothy, I saw that you're doing kind of this That Greenwich Life. I'm really loving it. It looks great. You really need to come in and meet my friend Brian Howie, who's opening this podcast studio right here in Greenwich. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I mean, people have been saying, that I should have a podcast forever. I remember my acupuncturist, I'm coming back to Chelsea, don't worry. But I remember my acupuncturist, Dodi Chang, another amazing person in Greenwich, another person that literally not only did my acupuncture, but was my therapist for so many years when I was going through all of these horrible losses and my body was being put through hell. She always said, you really need a podcast. And I said, I know, but if I have a podcast, who will listen? She's like, it doesn't matter. You need to just start a podcast, start talking. People will come, people will listen because they want to hear what you have to say. You have a lot of wisdom. So there's all these wonderful, special people who have been cheerleading me along the way. And so Chelsea was like, come in, meet my friend Brian. Great, when can I come in? She's like, tomorrow. Oh gosh, I can't. I'm busy tomorrow. I have a friend coming in, from out of town. Is there another time? She's like, well, he doesn't live here. So come and meet him. Just come in for an hour while he's here in town. Okay, fine. You know what? All right, let's go in. So I go in, we sit down. Brian is the man, and Pod Populi is the most incredible location, by the way. This studio is unbelievable. If you're in Greenwich, you have to come stop by. It's right at the top of the avenue. Greenwich Avenue, for those that don't live in Greenwich. When I say the avenue, it's Greenwich Avenue. It's kind of like the Park Avenue of New York City equivalent. But anyway, so you got to come in and see this place because it's amazing. And so we sit down, we chat, I'm not thinking a thing of it. And Brian's like, okay, you know what? You're going to come in, you're going to do a podcast here. We're going to take care of everything for you. And in exchange, you're just going to promote us. And Chelsea and I were screaming. I don't think I told Brian this. Chelsea and I were screaming on the corner of Greenwich Avenue when we walked out of this place. Like, did I just get a podcast? Wait, did this just happen? No, this can't be it. Like, I didn't hear this right. So my point in telling the story, guys, is that Chelsea, okay, the reason that Chelsea kind of had this idea, like, I really want this for Dorothy, is because there's something that happened for Chelsea that is really beautiful in this story. And when I met Chelsea, she kind of knew that I had gone through some kind of a fertility journey, some kind of a loss. She didn't know the details, but she knew that this was a really big part of who I am and who I am now, the new me. There's an old me that parts of were left on the other side of this journey. But like the new me now, she knew that there was something really, really momentous and really huge, a huge mountain that I climbed and that I survived. And so we got to talking, and as it turned out, Chelsea, and she told me I could share this, Chelsea's son was born 4 months early, and he weighed 1 pound, 7 ounces. And he went through like 8 blood transfusions. He had collapsed lungs. He was in the NICU for 4 months, and it was a very, very traumatic experience, as you can understand. I'm sure some of you have a connection to that, or you know someone who's had a NICU baby, and it's so, so difficult. And so she had, even though we didn't know each other, over the months and months ago, she had kind of like pulled me aside at a party and said, I really want to know more about, like your journey, and I went through this, and I said to her, first thing out of my mouth, Chelsea, you have to do EMDR therapy. You have to do it, because this is the only thing that pulled me forward out of the wreck that was my life and my trauma. I was diagnosed with PTSD. Like, you think PTSD is just, folks coming back from war. And it is, by the way. These folks are going through PTSD. But PTSD is such a wide variety of things, and it affects a really huge group of people, not just your Army vets. And so a lot of people in the infertility world, in the pregnancy loss world, in the IVF world, a lot of these people have been diagnosed with PTSD or are suffering from it and just haven't gotten it treated. And it was really, really bad for me. And apparently, here's someone, Chelsea, who it was really bad for too. And she tried all this different therapy through the years. So finally, I said to her, you need to do EMDR. It's this really special therapy that changed my life. And I will tell you guys about it in upcoming episodes. Of course, we'll talk more about it, about kind of maybe what your experience has been with PTSD, and also kind of like what this is and how it can help you. But anyway, so I set Chelsea up with a friend of mine who is an EMDR therapist who specializes in it. And it takes a lot of courage to do this kind of therapy. And so Chelsea did it, and it transformed her life. It was the only thing in all of these years, okay, it's been 12 years since this horrible trauma that she went through. And she's been carrying this along with her all of these years, all this trauma. And it's the only thing that really changed her, that really moved the needle, because it is really powerful stuff. And I can't wait to get to it in later episodes. So, okay, as you can see, I'm talking about Greenwich, being picked up in a Maybach, going to tennis. I'm talking about EMDR therapy, which has helped me with my PTSD, which has helped my friend with her PTSD. I hope this is giving you guys a sense for what this conversation is going to be about. It's going to be the highs. It's going to be the lows. It's going to be the, Chanel. It's going to be the Forever 21. It's going to be a mix of everything. It's going to be the super, super happy times and the really exciting times, seeing Mumford and Sons at the Greenwich Town Party. And it's going to be the really horrible rock bottom times where there are things like pregnancy loss and miscarriage and really hard things to talk about. But it's not just going to be about my infertility journey. It's not just going to be about a woman who has lost a baby or tried to have a baby. It's not. It's going to be about any struggle that we're going through, because there's something in each of our lives at any given time that we want to change, right? It's like that one thing that is just bugging you. It's not only bugging you, but it's killing you. It's maybe your kid struggling in school. Maybe they're in a really bad crowd, or maybe they're getting bullied, or maybe they're just having a hard time not making a certain sports team or whatever. It might be your marriage. Maybe you're trying to fall in love. Maybe you're trying to meet that right person. Maybe you've had some kind of really significant loss in your life. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and he said to me, I moved to Greenwich a little while ago, and, after my wife died, and, that really sucked. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like, this is somebody that I want to speak to in this podcast. Like, maybe you've gone through a really traumatic loss, whether you're young or old. Maybe you've lost a parent, maybe you've lost a sibling, a grandparent, maybe you've lost a spouse. There are these hard things, right? And as you walk around Greenwich, Connecticut, not a lot of people are talking about these hard things. People are all dressed up looking their best. They have their eyelash extensions in, and they have their hair highlighted, and they're looking all perfect in their G-Wagon. And the fact of the matter is, I guarantee you that person, because by the way, I'm that person too. That person, we all are walking around with something that is hurting our heart and hurting our soul. And so those are the things that we're going to talk about. We're going to mix in all of the fun and the crazy parties and things like that, but we are going to talk about the things that are super hard and we just are stuck in them. We don't know how to fix it. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you how to fix it. This is not an advice show, okay? I'm going to tell you what this is not. It's not an advice show. It's not a Greenwich gossip show. It actually would make sense if it were a Greenwich gossip show because, hello, I spent a decade in celebrity gossip and news. You have no idea how many stories I broke about Brangelina. But let's be honest, I dished so much celebrity news and gossip that I created enough bad karma for myself for a lifetime. So I am not here to spill the tea on anybody or anything that's super duper secret in Greenwich. So don't worry about that. My friends are all like, oh shit, Dorothy has a new podcast. I better stop telling her all my secrets. It's not like that, guys. It's the absolute opposite. This is a place that we are going to talk about the things that are weighing on us. And we're going to talk about the things that are much deeper than, say, the Bentleys you see driving around town and the country club parties. I'm a member of a country club. We're going to talk about that. Don't worry, okay? I'm going to show you all the country club fun, but we are going to talk about the rough and tough stuff. So I love telling the story about Chelsea because I wanted her to do EMDR because I want everybody who has gone through any kind of trauma, anyone who's gone through any place in life where they've been dealt a really, really crappy hand. I want them to get better and I want them to heal from that. That's where I am and that's what I want to do for people. That's how I want to help them. And so I was more than happy to help her do that. And I don't expect a thing in return. I don't expect anything. I mean, I just expect that she shows up, she goes to her appointments, and she does the work, and that hopefully that heals her, and that my recommendation was a good one. And by the way, and if she doesn't show up, you know what? I at least applaud people for trying. I at least applaud people for taking that first step because sometimes we're so scared of taking that first step. Hello, me and the podcast. We're so scared of taking that first step that we don't even kind of know where to begin, right? And then all of our talents are hidden. All of our service to the rest of the world is hidden. And all of that great positive energy that we have to share and give to others is hidden. So in taking that first step to kind of come in and just say, okay, I'll meet with Brian at Pod Populi. I'll check out the studio. I had no idea that I was going to end up getting my own podcast. I still have no idea how I'm sitting in this chair, to be quite honest. But hopefully you're listening and hopefully you're leaving me a review after this and liking it and sharing it and downloading it and doing all the things. And hopefully I can sit in this chair for more episodes to come. So we have a lot to cover on this show. That Greenwich Life is definitely going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited that you guys are coming along for the ride. I definitely have so much to share. I have questions to ask. I want you to come here because you've woken up in the morning and you've had a hard time kind of just putting those 2 feet on the ground. The day might feel kind of heavy. You're still contending with some like big thing that's happening. Maybe you're having an affair. Maybe your husband's having an affair. Maybe I don't know, like you're dealing with something that's hard. And this is not a place that we judge. This is not a place to judge. You know, when my friends come to me and they talk to me about things that they go through, I'm never going to judge them because you do not know where they are with things. And you don't know wherever you can be with things. You don't know what kind of decisions you're going to make. So I don't judge others. I hope that people will not judge me, but I know they will because I've been doing TV long enough. You know, haters gonna hate, that's okay. You haven't made it. You haven't made it until you have some critics. So that's okay. But I really invite like real authentic conversation. In fact, I invite you to follow me at Dorothy on TV on Instagram, where we can continue these conversations. And even though I know that we're all very busy on a weekly basis and a daily basis, there's plenty of our to-do list, I'm gonna be giving a little bit of homework on this show. Not homework, but just like we have a weekly workout and a daily workout, something that we do for ourselves, I'm gonna be providing you with your weekly work on. It's something that you can carry along with you in your mind throughout your day-to-day, dropping the kids off at swim, in the carpool line, heading to the grocery store, folding laundry, and just something that you can circle back to, something that you can give yourself. Call it a mindful minute, call it whatever you want, but I'm gonna call it your weekly work on. So definitely tune in and stay until the end of the episode because that's where I'll be giving the weekly work on week in and week out. Here's the thing. I just want this to be a place that we can come together. And if you listen for, 25, 30, 35, I promise I won't do an hour episode. I'll try to curtail it. If you listen for just that length of time, I really hope that then you can move on with your day with just like a little bit of a lighter step. Like, okay, you're in the mess, you're in the dark, you're in like the crap of life. But it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay because the mess and the dark and the crap, it's all part of this experience. The one thing that we cannot escape as humans, okay? The one thing we cannot escape is that you're going to go through something hard and you're going to go through something soul crushing and traumatic. You're going to go through something painful. What you go through might be different than what I go through. What I go through might be different than what my producer goes through. But the fact of the matter is, we're all going to go through it. So let's let's take off our Gucci sunglasses, okay? Let's see the tears behind the lash extensions and let's really talk about what is going on in our lives and let's try to kind of heal together because I need you guys. I need you guys to help me with my healing and I'm here to help you. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the first episode. And I hope that you like, share, download. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And please check us out wherever you enjoy your podcasts. My website is dorothyOnTV.com and my Instagram is @DorothyOnTV.